Hello, hello. This is Vincent from Tiksu to UniTartu, and today we're going to be talking all about student life in Tartu. We're joined by an international student named Shailaja, and she's going to give us her experiences outside the classroom here in Tartu, from events to professional activities and experiencing the culture here in Tartu. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Tiksu to UniTartu. Shailaja, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
I'm Shailaja Mahara. I'm from India and I'm a master's student of software engineering at University of Tartu.
Great. So one thing we usually like to ask people, international students that come on the podcast, like, how did you find Estonia and why did you decide to come study in Tartu here?
Well, I was attracted towards the software engineering program and I had heard about Estonia through my work in blockchain, and Estonia had had advanced a lot in that field, and I was interested in doing my master's thesis in the same field, which is why I chose this program. And that's basically it.
Great. So when you first came to Tartu, like, what were your first impressions of just maybe the city and maybe the people, the university? Like, what were your first impressions when you first came here?
I would say for me and for most people I know, the impressions form long before you arrive here. So you're already researching and you know that what people talk about Tartu. So it is a student city, which I was expecting.
Yeah.
And it truly is very much a student city.
You know, as a matter of fact, it is the student capital of Estonia.
Oh, yes.
So what would you say, like, in terms of student life, not necessarily in the classroom, but, you know, out in town, you know, clubs, you know, bars, like, what kind of stuff would you say, like, makes Tartu a student city?
Well, to begin with, there's a more number of students here than anywhere else that I've been. So even if you compare Tartu to Tallinn, Tartu has a lot of students here, especially in the area we live, which is the city, close to the city center. You'll find a lot of students, specifically foreigner students. So just the general vibe of it is very young. We are the young city.
Yeah, and it's really cool because if it's not just, you know, somebody studying here, they're either working for the university or involved in the university in some way, so you kind of have like a connection with anybody that you meet here.
Yeah, so what I was getting at was that since we have so many young people around us, it's really easy to find and make friends with people your age. And there are a lot of bars and public places and cafes, my personal favorites, to hang out at. And you can always go there, whether it's alone or with friends. And okay, so most people usually focus on pubs. I'm not specifically a pub person anymore, but I used to be. But I really love the vibe of Tartu, especially Moko is a very popular student pub here. And they organize these ESN nights. Karaoke is one of my favorites.
Me too.
Everybody gathers and we just sing our hearts out together.
Yeah. What I really appreciate is that, like, there's so many people that you see so often or that you know that, like, if you're planning to go to an event, you don't need to be like, oh, I got to get a group of friends to go to this event.
Yes.
It feels okay to go to an event alone and then show up and you see people that you know or you recognize, or, hey, that's the guy I met 3 weeks ago at the other bar, you know?
For sure. I mean, I have made so many friends by just showing up alone to events like these.
Exactly.
And the university also does a really good job of, and I know that because ambassadors are the one who are organizing a lot of it. So they do a really good job in creating student day events where it really gives you an introduction to what the student life is going to be. There's a whole week of events where you bump into people who are as new to the city as you are. So they also have a fresh point of view.
Definitely.
And it really gives you a jump start into beginning your life as a student in Tartu.
Yeah, it's really great because also I feel like everybody's very willing to offer their experience and their knowledge. So, you know, you come and even if you just meet somebody new, it's somebody that's been in the city for 3 years and they'll say, oh, well, this is this place, you should go here. So it is very much like a community vibe. Everybody like has that kind of student like cohesion, which is really nice.
True.
So I wanted to ask you a little bit maybe about your hobbies and how you spend time in the city outside of the classroom. Just your day-to-day.
Okay, so I'm very diverse in my hobbies. I have a lot of them and they keep switching. But that's a personal experience. So within the span of my university, I like to take up. So I'm going to give you an example of this workshop I did last year. And it was about Tartu Startup Lab, where we had multiple workshops within a span of 6 weeks, I think. And these were about different topics that you would need to cover to build your own startup. And one of them was about pitch training, which it stayed with me. There were a lot of other topics, all of them very good. But the one about pitch training was instrumental in teaching us about presentation. So that was exciting. That's the learning front of it. I also did a sandbox training about digital product management, which is very different from my own field of study, which is software engineering. But I learned a lot. I was in a team where there were product designers, product managers themselves, and graphic designers. And it's very interesting what I was able to learn, not just through the program, but through my team as well. So the community aspect was very important for my experience there. But then outside of it, I love bicycling. So I take the Tartu smart bikes, and it's such a great weather right now. It's so summery and it's windy. It's perfect for a very long bike ride, which I do for at least 2 hours sometimes.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and I go to swim at the Emayogi River, which is the river that flows through Tartu. And there's a beach. And
I really appreciate there that they also have a lot of like really nice workout equipment. Like I was thinking about it the other day when I was at the beach, and I was like, okay, wait, this is probably the nicest beach I've ever been to, because normally it's just like, okay, there's a police officer and then there's like a, there's sand in Chicago, but you come here and they have like places to wipe off your feet. They have, food trucks, they have workout equipment, and it's like, it's really, really like nice facilities that have been built for, people to come and enjoy the summer. And it's, Estonia is not summer all the time, so it is really nice like that.
There's also like a corner hidden section of the beach where it's a little bit more private.
Whoa,
a secret.
Maybe you shouldn't tell them about the secret spot already here.
Okay, that would be my secret.
So Shailaja, we're talking a lot about the summer activities. I know we love the beach. What are maybe some of the things that happen in the winter in the town?
Well, Estonians love their winter sports. So if you are here, I would suggest you gather some winter sports equipment, ski equipment. One of those, the sledge, is it called a sleigh?
Yeah.
A sleigh? Sleigh.
Yeah.
Get one of those. There are a lot of snow hills that you can discover. It's a walk around, never too far away, and you can take your sleigh and you have a lot of fun in the winters.
Yeah, and it's really nice because you don't actually have to buy the sleigh. There's places you can go and rent them out in town. There's places you can get like an inner tube to go down a hill as well, or cross-country skis. So, if you are willing to try something new during the winter, there's definitely places to do it. Especially if you want to try winter swimming is a big one for me. I really like doing like a little ice plunge. So
do you? I do it too.
Oh, wow.
It's wonderful.
No, I really like it because, it's something I've never done before. And I think I would describe that as more of an Estonian experience. You go into the sauna and you run out and jump into the frozen lake. And that was like a cool experience for me.
I just wanted to mention here, I don't know if people know this, that there are saunas on the river, one of which I tried out a couple of weeks ago, and you can do those saunas. Sometimes there is a boat that you can rent out with friends. Sometimes it's not very expensive, and you can do the saunas there, and then you can do your ice plunge at the river, go back and forth. It's very exciting experience. I would highly recommend.
I wanted to ask you kind of between hobbies that you might have done in India, in your hometown, and coming to Tartu, are there any hobbies that you maybe continued from your hometown, or have you just picked up new hobbies in Tartu?
Well, we don't swim at the river in Delhi.
Probably not. Probably not.
No, I would say that it's very different. Tartu is very different from my hometown. The only hobby I would say I have continued would be reading in cafes, and that's something you can do in any city, right?
Yeah.
But it's such a contrast from where I'm from, so I have picked more or less a new hobby, and that's the mindset I came with when I arrived in a new country, is that you have to change the things that you're passionate about, essentially. Find new hobbies, find new people, make new friends.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you really have to change your passions, but I think more so gear them towards your new city and find what works for you, because there's so much to do here, and then there's also, kind of everywhere you go in Estonia, it's obviously not going to be exactly like where you're from, but if you do have a passion for it, you're able to find at least a substitute or other people that are passionate about it, which is really cool.
Yeah, for example, for somebody who's only played football their entire lives, and sure, you can find football groups here, and I have friends who prefer cricket, and there are cricket groups that they participate in. You might not be able to do that during the winter, so finding an alternative sport that you have absolutely no idea about, it might be a learning curve, but it still is exciting. It's exciting to discover that it's still wonderful as the other sports that you love.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't really thought about, like, a lot of people do come here and it's their first time, experiencing snow and winter sports and stuff, and they get on ice and they're like a baby giraffe or something. So we mentioned that quite a bit, because we have the one ambassador that was very new to ice and snow. But it's cool that you're able to do these new things and kind of offer up. Like, I had never gone ice skating before, and then every winter in the town they set up an ice skating rink around the town hall, and that was really a good experience for me.
Are you good at ice skating now?
I wouldn't say I'm good. I would say I am able to stand up. So
you're so much better than I am. I am a deer on ice.
Yeah, but it's cool to be able to try that and have like other experiences around the town, and yeah.
But Tartu this year is so much different from Tartu last year, because it's Tartu 2024.
Oh.
There's always some events going on in the city. Did you know that Brand Adams showed up last week? Oh my God!
Yeah. It has been pretty cool, because just this year, with all the events going on, they've been setting up stages in the center of the town, and I really appreciate that. If I'm like looking to go out some night, I can just look on Facebook and there's like 4 events. I'm like, oh, okay, I will pick out of these.
Yeah, I'm surprised people haven't like plastered the posters on their walls, because there's so many events. It's so lively, especially the city center, especially during this week as well that we are recording it.
Yeah.
The city center streets have closed off for a week, and they're doing shows every evening.
Yeah. So a lot of institutes here at the University of Tartu put on events for their students. I know my institute had a lot of events as well. Are there any specific things that were put on by the university that you really appreciated, or you would recommend to other people?
Yeah, so in computer science, there are a lot of events that are hosted by Sandbox, and we have Creative Lab that people can participate in. Until last year, there was also the Tartu Startup Lab, which is closed now. It's we don't have it working anymore. But I participated in it, and it was a very exciting experience. There are also many hackathons that students can participate in.
Can you maybe explain what a hackathon is for somebody? Because I've never participated in one. Can you maybe explain a little bit what it is?
Well, how I would simplify it would be, it's a very fast-paced way to create something demonstratable.
Mm-hmm.
So in a lot of hackathons, students participate over a span of a weekend or 3 weeks, or a weekend or 3 days, and they work day and night because it's a competition, and they have to produce something demonstratable at the end of the hackathon and win prizes, which is an exciting part about it.
So it sounds like with these events, you're working in tandem with like a lot of, I guess, it's more of a professional environment in terms of,
Yes.
less partying. Have you made some contacts or friends from these events that you still talk to or maybe have professional connections with?
Unfortunately, no, because they have lasted me such a short time that I have not had a chance to catch up. But I would not be surprised if other people have, because sometimes, especially with these startup lab, the team that you form with, you know them before you even begin the program. So you kind of it's acts as a bonding experience, and I wouldn't be surprised if these people stay friends forever.
Yeah.
For a long time.
I even heard that some people like go, past when they are making this product or they're doing, something demonstrable in in these events that they actually, go on and actually do start a business with it.
They do.
So I think that's like pretty unique to the city and like the environment here that kind of fosters that.
Yeah, so the university fosters students to at least learn to build their own startup, and create something usable for. Personally, I feel what it does is, coming from a university that behaves entirely differently. It gives a very good platform for students to understand what a working life is going to look like, and that it's not just reading on paper and using what they have learned to create something substantial. And that is a great platform that you can build on, and it's great exposure, in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe I could have you expand on that a little bit more, because this is my first college experience. I'm doing my bachelor's, my first university experience, and you had an entire degree you did.
Yeah.
So how would that kind of general vibe and, student life compare to your other university experience here in Tartu?
I did my bachelor's a long time ago, so education since then has changed a little as well. But I would say that here there's a lot more focus on using what you have learned instead of learning more. Just having more knowledge is not enough, but knowing how to apply the knowledge that you have is more important. And that I would, if I had to boil it down to one sentence, it would be, it's the practical versus the theoretical.
Oh, okay.
And there's more emphasis on the practical here, and you get through these events that the university organizes, you have ways to implement. You have an opportunity to use what you know and learn something new, maybe, and meet people that you get inspired from and learn something new from. And that is, I think, what stands out for me, at least.
Yeah. Obviously, we're here in Estonia. We're in a different country. It is a new environment. There's, different people, different things to do, different places to go. I wanted to ask you, maybe, have you felt any culture shocks in your everyday life, moving from India to Estonia?
I'm actually a really bad person to ask this question, because even though I arrived in Estonia not knowing a single person here, which is already a crazy thing to do, but I had a very open mindset before I came here, and I understood that people are very different. This place is 2 continents apart from where I'm from, and I've never been to Europe before I came to Estonia. So I came ready to experience the maximum culture shock, racism. I was at the extreme, but to my pleasant surprise, Estonians, although yes, they are quiet, but the quietness is more shyness. You know, it's not in their culture to go about and just talk to a random stranger, ask for help.
I also think that it's also an air of, respect, a little bit of like, we had a guest, Stefano, who was talking about a social responsibility, social order, that they don't want to, make somebody feel uncomfortable by coming up and, getting in their face or starting a conversation, because it might make, people aren't used to that, but yeah.
So yes, what I have come to understand it as well is what you say. It's a respect of personal space, and I think I've been here for almost 2 years now, and I think it's kind of ruined me because I desire that space now. If I go to somewhere else and somebody comes into my space, I'm like, back off, please. But I actually, but here's where I think everybody gets wrong, is that people usually come here and they judge most Estonians by their initial reaction, I guess their initial expression, which is null, right? Because Estonians don't just look at you and smile and break into a smile.
Yeah. Well, there was one thing that I heard, Estonians are always going to notice your shoes first, because, they're not going to look you straight in the eye when they first meet you. But, actually, what I've noticed about Estonians, it's very hard to initially, kind of break that first wall. Yeah. But once you do meet Estonians and you get to know them, they're like, very loyal friends, and, they'll have your back in any situation.
Yes. But I mean, of course, with the friends part, I believe everybody needs that kind of wall breaking, but I'm talking about the manager at your grocery aisle who looks at you without expecting you to ask for help.
Yeah.
But when you do ask for help, they go out of their way. They stop everything they're doing at the moment.
They'll walk. They'll basically grab your hand and walk you to where.
They grab your hand. They walk you to it. They're like, and they point it out. They show you options, and this has been my experience through and through. Doesn't matter what store I am at. It's not a particular store. It doesn't matter where I am. But that's built in the culture is to, if you give them a job, they see through it entirely.
But I guess on the other hand, I really do kind of appreciate the respect, because an experience I had, I just went back to the States for the summer, and you'll buy groceries and people will be like, oh, a pizza, ooh, a couple bottles of soda, you're having a party, and it's like, okay, those are my groceries, you don't need to discuss them with me. I like here that people mind their own business, and they're not gonna say something to you about your groceries or whatever.
I don't have that experience. Cannot relate.
Yeah. Well, that's just something I've noticed, and I kind of appreciate here that I'm not going to be bothered, and yeah.
But I do get poked in other kinds of businesses.
in what
Not
ways?
my grocery business, but when are you getting married? What how much salary do you get?
Oh, well, that might be a personal experience. I haven't experienced yet.
Yeah. But. Did you shower with the soap before you swam?
Okay.
The Yajima's there. Yeah, I'm getting too much into detail here.
No, don't worry. I guess we can switch gears a little bit. I wanted to ask, maybe if there's some events that are specifically geared towards Estonian, not just events, but activities, hobbies, that maybe are only advertised in Estonian. Have you ever gone to any of those, or maybe showed up to something and felt welcomed?
Oh, so I have a very close. I have many Estonian friends, but I have this one friend who's very close. I'm very close to. And she is my gateway to Estonian events. Because I can go with her, and she would translate things for me. And the last event I went to with her was a song festival where it's not exactly a karaoke, but there's somebody performing on stage, and the audience can watch the lyrics through a screen, and they can sing along.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite parts about being here also.
Yeah, and so she guided me through what songs are she grew up on, what is the meaning behind those songs. Something I appreciate because I am very interested in music, and it exposed me to Estonian music as well.
Yeah, and not only is it just like a fun event for everybody there, it is like a big part of their history and culture, this kind of singing and song festivals. So I mean, if you are unfamiliar with the situation, I think it'd be fruitful before coming to Estonia, just learn a little bit about the history, just so you can understand where some of these events are coming from.
Yeah, it's a very interesting way to get a peek into the culture as well, because if you ask questions, like direct questions, you obviously don't know what questions to ask. Like one of my recurring questions to ask Estonian, and still not understanding what it really means, is that how can somebody get independence by singing? I don't understand the singing revolution, because we revolted for centuries and we did not get it.
I think it was a perfect storm of people coming together at the right time with the political climate, and I honestly, to the listeners, I would say definitely go look it up, and it's a highly fascinating story.
So if somebody explained that to me verbatim, it's hard to get the context of what it was like. But if you are a part of that song festival and you see the energy and you hear them talk about some of the patriotic music, you kind of get a better sense of what the real story was. So I like exploring the Estonian culture in different ways, like music. Sometimes I do through bars where they're talking about the Estonian history. Sometimes going to these slam poetry events. I don't usually understand all of them, but it's nice to have somebody to translate it to you.
Yeah, and most people, if you go, they're willing to do that. But I kind of just wanted to expand a little bit more on those song festivals. I think it's really cool to see like the nationalism when you go there, to see so many Estonian flags, because for so many years in the country it was like illegal to even own an Estonian flag. So it's just it's cool to see, and I as an American, I appreciate the patriotism, So
yes.
As we're kind of winding down a little bit now, I wanted to ask you, what's one thing that you think everybody should try in Tartu, that like your number one thing?
Something that has stood out to me as uniquely Estonian, but probably not, is board games.
Board games?
Estonians love their board games very much, and they always have a huge shelf of board games at their place. Which is interesting to me, because I'm not that into board games, but it has been a unique experience for me to visit my Estonian friends, and they're like, "Oh, what do? We play board games."
Well, sometimes when it gets real cold and you can't go out, it's nice to huddle up with a board game.
So I recently did a presentation that I organized a cultural event at a youth center in a countryside close to Tartu, and it's a youth center, so most of my audiences were under 12, and this youth center had a kitchen, they had a giant TV, a presenter, and a PlayStation 5. And guess what we did after we ended, and guess what everybody asked to play? Board games. I'm like, okay, Estonians be loving their board games. Let's do it.
Well, there you go. So as we're out of time here, is there anything you wanted to add before we close off, or?
I mean, I would say that I understand that students who are new to Estonia might be a little bit apprehensive about, or they might not know what to expect, or might be a little bit scared even. Like everybody has the element of being scared. And it might take some time for anyone to make friends and find that people they get along with. Although it's not that hard. We have student days in the first week.
Yeah.
So you're doing something wrong if you're not making friends, okay?
Yeah. I mean, that's great advice. Have an open mind, get outside your comfort zone, because there's just so much to experience, I'd say.
Yeah, so have an open mind, try something new, even if you don't feel that you like it. Like, this is a new country, for some people a new continent, so approach everything with the childlike patience and curiosity, and you will be surprised by how amazing Estonia can be.
Yeah. Well, that's really great advice. So that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for being here, Shailaja.
Thank you for having me.
And this has been Tiksu to UniTartu. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Tiksu to UniTartu. We hope you had a chill time with us. Make sure to follow the University of Tartu social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, X, and LinkedIn. And if you have any questions for us about the podcast or topics you'd like us to cover in the future, then let us know. And this has been Tiksu to UniTartu.